We are finally back at Crows on the driest day of what can only be described as a miserable month. Over the last couple of days, the crows have been making life difficult for the farmer, feasting on the fresh shoots of his wheat crop and digging up the seeds from the soft soil. It's misty, damp and seriously cold. But Andy is tougher than Teflon and Chris the cameraman has 3 pairs of his wooliest socks on. So it's game on for us and hopefully game over for the crows. Today's plan of attack takes rather a lot of reconnaissance. 2 hours after we arrive, Andy is still driving around the farm, scoping out possible flight lines and feeding areas. He's watching for fairly high-flying birds travelling along roughly the same lines, but the changeable wind is making life tricky.
We're here today. I've had a phone call. We've had a lot of crows on this wheat ever since it was put in. It's just starting to come through. It's probably through 1.5 to 2 inches now, and they cleared up what was on top. Now they're starting to dig up and eat the seed, which is what it's germinated from. They're starting to pull that up. So the farm manager's asked me to come up and see if I can keep them off for the day. They've had bangers on it, but the thing is they've got used to the banger. So he's been putting it on every other day, but he's left it off for the last 2 days because he knows I'm coming here shooting. So hopefully we'll try and bump into a few today. There's a big block here. It's about 100 acres over this field and the next field up. The other one's been planted quite a while, but they're going between the two. But they've got the dairy over in the distance, and they're coming back and forth from the dairy here and then going on the grass fields and then coming back out here. So we might sit here for a while and shoot a few. But there again, towards later in the evening, they tend to come back out here just for a final feed. So I'm just standing here at the moment, watching to see where they're going and where they're making for. The wind's not right for it today, or not ideal, sorry. Not ideal for where I want to go. I was hoping to set on this corner. I shot it here a couple of weeks ago and had a big bag. But they tend to be going through the back end of the field, which means we've got, where I'm thinking of going, it's quite a walk. So I know I'll be able to do it, but I'm not so sure about the cameraman. But hey ho. Yeah, so I'm just going to stand here and watch it for another 15-20 minutes and see where everything's like, trying to congregate and stick myself in the middle and hopefully decoy some crows. And there is a few pigeons here. If they come near enough, they'll get it. But the aim today is to go at the crows. That's what we're planning on shooting today.
Corvids are very canny birds with exceptional eyesight and a knack for knowing when things are not quite right. So it's all time well spent if we can land on the ideal location, if being the operative word. Eventually, at just gone 11 AM, we arrive back where we started, the sweeping basin-shaped field of winter wheat drillings where we know the birds were feeding in considerable numbers just days ago. It's the safest bet in these challenging conditions, with no defined wind direction or flight line to work from. And with Andy's mind made up, it's time to set up.
Yeah, I've got silver socks. I use the pigeon ones anyway. I've bought a few of those to trot, well, to stick out there because there's been a few pigeons here. I'll probably stick them out to one side. I'm going to get a big lot of crow decoys. They've been used to seeing a lot of crows here, so having half a dozen decoys, they're not going to really pull to that. So the more the merrier. I've got 2 bags of full bodies, plus a load of silver socks I'm going to put out there, so the more the merrier. Going to have a big black area so that they can see them from distance. Yeah, and hopefully that'll work.
And the silver socks ones, do they fill up like a kind of windsock?
Yeah, they do. They work like a windsock. I've got a couple of flappers. I'll put them on real slow motion on a slow flap because the crows don't like it flapping too fast. It doesn't look realistic to a crow. The only time a crow flaps like mad is when it's been warned of danger or it's clearing off. So they want to be just flapping really slow. So I've got 2 flappers. I'm going to have one going for a start and see how that works. Probably end up putting 2 flappers out, going really slow and on a timer. So I'll have that going.
The main concern today is to ensure the hide is well hidden and the decoy pattern attractive enough to tempt the crows in from all angles. Andy builds the hide tucked well back into a hedge line, choosing a spot where it is thick enough to allow for plenty of space for social distancing while filming. There is a thick clump of foliage behind it to hide their silhouettes, and a taller clump of ivy-laden trees to the right, which will shield him from the eagle eyes of any birds coming from the bottom of the field. A tall net in front keeps him hidden from anything flying straight on, and a second net serves to shield the cameraman, who is slightly more elevated than Andy. From ongoing reconnaissance, Andy knows that these crows are used to seeing large flocks feeding, so he must replicate this with his decoy pattern. In the absence of one clear flight path, he also needs it to be highly visible from all angles, so starts off with about 24 decoys, using a mix of full-body decoys and silosocks for some gentle movement.
With the crows, they got good eyes, so the plan is to get them in right in as close as I can. It gives you more chance to make a bigger bag, so I don't put them out any distance. If you watch crows, they tend to feed quite close together, so I'll put a load out and then I'll just fill in with silosocks. So I'm putting out some full bodies at the moment. Put a few full body crow decoys out. These are flock coated so they don't shine in the sun. Just get them out, get a big area in this corner here, and then put some silosocks in the middle just to liven it up a bit.
The pattern starts just 10 yards out from the front of the hide, with the furthest decoy no more than 25 yards away. So it's a little closer and rather a lot bigger than his usual pigeon setup. With Rose of the lab tucked away and the gun loaded, it's all eyes to the skies. Successful crow shooting is all about staying hidden. They are alert to any movement, so keeping low until the very last second and then taking a quick, decisive shot is the only way to get them in the bag. The action is steady, but the birds are definitely interested and are showing up in ones and twos for a closer look. Some clearly commit, only to veer away before they are in range, and it's hard to know what is putting them off. And after a couple of hours, Andy stops for a good clear up and adds in the flapper.
Pays to have a clear up every now and again, especially when you get a crow like that laying on its back. Another crow will come in, see it's not natural, and they're pretty wiry, so something like that they shy off from that at 100 yards, 150 yards, so pays to have a bit of a tidy up.
Andy decides to try the flapper using a dead bird for maximum realism. Luckily, Andy's shooting is on top form. The crows are like avian terminators. To bring them down takes skill and precision, and he's pulling off some outstanding shots on the higher birds. You see how the crows, they come right in. That's the reason I have the decoys in so close. They come right in, so that when you do stand up to shoot them, they always flare up and you've got that perfect shot of their underbelly. Like that one, it was only 25 yards to the back of the pattern, but then when he flares up, he's already gone another 8-10 yards, so they're starting to get away, and that is the reason I have the decoys in so close. Plus I'm not a very good shot, so it always helps me out, so but yeah, that is the reason I have the decoys in close. It's not easy work, and Andy has had to stretch his shooting to the max to make every shot count. But by 4:30, the farmer has 34 less crows to worry about and 8 less pigeons as a nice little bonus. When there's a job to do and a crop to protect, you can't always wait for the perfect shooting conditions. Knowing how to make a less than ideal situation work for you will ensure that you're never left scratching your head and will rarely come away empty-handed. Thanks to Andy, the crop is safe for today, and he'll be keeping a close eye on the remaining population of crows. We don't fancy their chances.